Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the seminar. I'm Hyuk-Ju Kwon, professor at the Graduate School of Public Administration, and I'm also Deputy Director of the Global Development Institute for Public Affairs, Seoul National University, which is organized this seminar today. I'd like to welcome you this seminar for book launch. The book is International Development Cooperation of Japan and South Korea, New Strategy for an Uncertain World. I think this is the book will be a very important contribution to the studies of international development. And especially because this is the outcome of the collaboration between Japanese and Korean scholars, the members of the Japan Society for International Development and the Korean Association of International Development Corporations. So before we present our book, we have two distinguished speakers who will give us a congratulatory remark. The first speaker is Professor Eun-mi Kim. She is the president of the Ewha Women's University, and she was also the former president of KAIDEC. And more importantly, she is also the contributor of the book. She is one of the authors of the chapter 4, I think, South Korea's foreign aid as a foreign policy instrument. So she is the best person to start this book seminar launch. So Professor Eun-mi Kim, please give us some congratulatory remarks.
Thank you very much, Professor Kwon. As I look around the screen, there are many faces that I have known for many years, so it's a real honor and pleasure to be here with you today. Good afternoon. It is my great honor to congratulate the publication of the book entitled International Development Cooperation of Japan and South Korea, New Strategies for an Uncertain World. I would like to appreciate all the efforts of the scholars from the two countries who have participated in this joint effort. In particular, I would like to commend the 4 editors, Professors Hyuk-Ju Kwon of Seoul National University, Tatsufumi Yamagata of Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University, Eun-ju Kim of Hansung University, and Hisahiro Kondo of Saitama University for their hard work and dedication for this book over the last 2 years, in spite of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which made it difficult to meet and discuss the book project in person. This book is actually a brainchild of the 2 presidents of KAIDEC and JASID 2 years ago in 2020. Professor Hyuk-Ju Kwon was president of the Korea Association of International Development Cooperation, or KAIDEC of Korea, and Professor Tatsufumi Yamagata, I think, was and continues to be the president of the Japan Society for International Development, JASID. They have been working with KAIDEC and JASID respectively in various capacities for a long time and have witnessed the strong partnership that grew between our 2 associations. They saw the need to have a more permanent record of our partnership through this book project. I would like to thank them again for their leadership and perseverance, and also for including younger scholars to join this book project. Let's congratulate them for their hard work and thank them for their leadership. It's always a few people who have this vision who make this happen. So I'm deeply grateful for both of you. We are living in an era where the need for international development cooperation has grown ever more. The global pandemic, which has hit the whole world without discrimination, unlike other earlier pandemics, which affected primarily developing countries, this has impacted not just the developing countries, but developed countries but it has caused greatest damage in developing countries. Let me share with you some basic facts that many of you already know. First, as the developed countries were grappling with COVID-19 outbreaks in their own countries, especially during the early phase of the pandemic, many were quick to close their borders and focus their energies on their own citizens. This has resulted in less support for international development cooperation, and in particular for official development assistance, or ODA. Access to COVID-19 testing, vaccines, and medications for the treatment of COVID-19 were disproportionately available in the world, especially in developing countries. For example, while 67% of the people in high-income countries were vaccinated, only 10% were vaccinated in low-income countries. Secondly, global and international institutions to promote and coordinate health problems, most notably the World Health Organization, or WHO, and the United Nations, have not been able to coordinate global efforts for the pandemic or raise concerns about the exacerbating healthcare inequality in the world. Universal health coverage, or UHC, which the Japanese government has been a long time champion, advanced by the WHO and the UN, were all but forgotten during the pandemic. When the need to coordinate and to provide global support for the fight against the pandemic were the highest, the global and international cooperation and coordination were at the lowest level in recent history. Third, the global economy, which took for granted global commerce, trade, labor migration, and tourism, all but came to a stop with the pandemic. And these forces have unduly affected the developing countries, and as a consequence, the extreme poverty rate has increased for the first time since 1998. Thus, we find ourselves who work in various fields of development cooperation as scholars, researchers, practitioners, policymakers, students, and volunteers, desperate and often hopeless in the work we have done for over the last 7 decades to help us to care for developing countries. Therefore, I find this book not only timely, but crucially important to help carry us through with international development cooperation, so that the ills of the COVID-19 can be quickly remedied in developing countries, and that they do not lead to permanent damage to developing countries and to the world. The Omicron variant of the COVID-19 is a clarion call to share and to care for the neediest members of our world. Am I too pessimistic or alarmist to think that the Omicron variant, which has been reported to have started in sub-Saharan Africa, is a result of not sharing and not caring about developing countries? This book, which provides rich comparative analyses of the two countries, South Korea and Japan, shares valuable alternative lessons for international development cooperation for the world. We need to show our leadership in international development cooperation, both in practical solutions as well as in research and theory building, so that the cases from Asia can be used to help the world. If we do not act now, we will for sure not be able to reach the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. So today's book launch is very special, I think, for South Korea and Japan. First, it marks the joint collaboration for academic exchange between KAIDEC and JASID after 14 years of exchange since KAIDEC's establishment in 2007, and 6 years since signing the Memorandum of Understanding in 2015. It is particularly meaningful for me as I have worked hard to expand and deepen the collaboration between our two associations, especially when I was president of KAIDEC in 2010 and 2011. I invited the members of JASID and the leadership for a joint international development cooperation conference, I think, which was the first time ever in the world, I believe. So I would like to congratulate both KAIDEC and JASID for being the two key partners with this. We invited the Development Studies Association of the United Kingdom, Australian Development Studies Associations, and many others on the occasion of the 4th High-Level Forum on Aid Effectiveness, or HLF4, which was held in the second largest city of Korea, Busan, at the end of 2011. Second, both countries are great examples of how international development cooperation can play a significant role in promoting development. Both countries were recipients of international assistance in the 20th century. South Korea's largest donors, in fact, were the United States and Japan. With such help from the international community, South Korea was able to successfully transition from a recipient to donor and officially joined the OECD's Development Assistance Committee in 2010. Today, Japan and South Korea, both as donors, provide foreign assistance to and share its development experiences with developing countries around the world. So the word development partner is the right one that we use in both of our countries with deep understanding of the meaning of partnership. It's not just a donor-recipient hierarchical relationship, but a true partnership. Third, efforts to open new horizons in comparative research have yielded fruitful results. This book will be an important reference to researchers and students to compare the two countries and for expanding our knowledge about international development cooperation to be used by international organizations, donors and development partners, and INGOs, as well as at the universities. Today's book launch seminar is held online due to COVID-19. Although we cannot meet in person, I'm pleasantly surprised that we have a larger audience thanks to this online format. I would like to thank KAIDEC, JASID, and the Global Development Institute for Public Affairs at Seoul National University for organizing today's book launch. As it appears in the introduction and conclusion of the book, global public goods are needed more than ever, and international development cooperation must play a key role in this endeavor. I hope that scholars, practitioners, students, volunteers, policymakers, and everyone gathered here today from Japan and from Korea and elsewhere will continue to work closely together to strengthen the resilience of all people and for the environment around the world. Once again, congratulations for the publications of this exciting book, International Development Cooperation of Japan and South Korea, New Strategies for an Uncertain World. What a great book and great timing. Thank you very much and congratulations again.
Thank you very much, President Kim Mi, your kind words and also your very important remark on the international development. I would like to invite the second speaker who will give us another congratulatory remark, Dr. Ganbold Baasanjav. He is the head of United Nations Economic Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific Sub-Regional Office, East and Northeast Asia, which is in Incheon, Republic of Korea. Dr. Ganbold was a diplomat serving the Mongolian government, and he was also Mongolian ambassador to Korea before he came to Incheon as a head of the Northeast Asian office. Before I like to invite him, I just like to mention that his office convened annual meetings for international development scholars for East and Northeast Asian region regularly. So that meeting provides us a kind of opportunity to discuss the international development issues and, more importantly, conceive this book. So he is really right person to give us a speech at the book launch seminar. So I'd like to invite Dr. Ganbold, please.
Thank you, Professor Kwon Ju, Professor Yamagata, and President Kim Yeon-mi. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of UNESCAP, I'm very pleased to deliver congratulatory remarks for the launch of the book, International Development Cooperation of Japan and Korea. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Japan Society for International Development, JASI, and the Korean Association of International Development Cooperation, KOR-JPN, as well as the team of authors and editors who have written this book covering the history and practice of Japan and Korea's development cooperation. I'm also pleased that ESCAP has made our contributions to this great work as mentioned in the acknowledgement of the book. ESCAP East and Northeast Asia Office has collaborated with JASID and KOR-JPN, as well as their partner networks in China and Russia since 2014 in organizing the annual Northeast Asia Development Cooperation Forum. Considering the leading role of Japan, Korea, and China in development cooperation in Asia and beyond, we have facilitated this annual forum to support enhancing mutual understanding among key national stakeholders of development cooperation and improving the current practices towards achieving global values and goals. Both countries are successful in modernizing their economies into well-developed, high-technology economies and sharing their experiences and resources for improving the quality of life and economic development of recipient countries. Now we are entering a completely new pathway of development, decarbonizing our economies in a few decades, as about 140 countries have now committed. This will be an unprecedented transformation in terms of scale and speed. While Japan and Korea have substantial domestic challenges to achieve the carbon neutrality goals, they are expected to play an instrumental role in developing this pathway. So the two countries need to reorient their ODA towards supporting this transformation while enhancing the effectiveness of ODA projects. In this regard, I wish to reiterate the new strategies in the concluding chapter of the book, which proposes prioritizing global interests in the development cooperation of the two countries, enlarging the scope of the private sector, and synergizing collaboration of the two countries. I wish to continue in dialogue and collaboration among ODA stakeholders in Northeast Asia that could further elaborate practical approaches to their strategies and also involve comparative analysis with Chinese scholars. I'd like to close my remarks by echoing a statement in the book's conclusion chapter. An essential part of international development cooperation is simple compassion applied to anyone and everyone in the world. I look forward to the continued development of ideas and theories for contributions by Japan and Korea to building a more prosperous and harmonious global community together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your generous word and also the support for this book project. So because of